when a village was haunted, one boy's faith saved them all. He was just a boy from a quiet village, praying beside his father, reciting the Quran, living in peace. But one dream changed everything. A mysterious voice called him to the top of a mountain, a place no one dared to go. There, he discovered an ancient pendant, and with it, unleashed a darkness sealed away for centuries. Shadows began to whisper his name. Eyes watched him from corners where no man stood. The village, once filled with adhan and birdsong, now trembled under the weight of an ancient curse. What he held wasn't just a relic, it was a trust. And what hunted him wasn't human. Will the light of the Quran save him, or will the jinn consume him in the shadows? Watch till the end to uncover the miraculous truth and discover the power of faith that shattered the darkness. In the shadowed valleys of Eastern Anatolia, nestled between ancient hills that whispered the tales of old empires, was a forgotten village called Karen. This village, untouched by the march of modernity, held secrets deeper than the mountains that cradled it. And in this village lived a boy named Zayd, the son of the village muezzin, a child whose life would unravel truths buried for centuries. Zayd was unlike the other children. Where others chased each other around fig trees or skipped stones over the glistening stream, Zayd spent his evenings beside his father in the masjid, listening intently to the adhan as it echoed across the valley. But it wasn't just his devotion that set him apart. It was the dreams. Every night since he turned 12, Zayd would wake in cold sweats, trembling, whispering the same ayah over and over, Wa makaru wa makar Allah. Wallahu kairul makarin. The villagers began to worry. His mother consulted the local hakim, who prescribed herbs and whispered amulets. His father only deepened his du'as. But one night the dream changed. Instead of shadows and fire, Zayd saw a man, radiant and draped in green, standing atop the mountain peak behind the village. The man called out his name. Zayd, it is time. The trust awaits. The next day, Zayd climbed that mountain. The trail was steep, hidden behind wild vines and thorns. But something pulled him, a force as if the earth itself urged him on. At the summit, he found a cave he'd never seen before. Inside, etched in the stone, was the very ayah from his dreams. Beneath it lay a wooden box covered in dust. He opened the box. Within it was a scroll, written in ancient Arabic, and a pendant glowing with an unearthly blue hue. The scroll told the tale of a man named Sayyid Arqam, a saint who lived 500 years ago and vanished mysteriously. The pendant, the scroll said, belonged to him. It carried barakah, but also a test. Zayd felt the cave shudder. A whisper filled the air. Will you carry the amana? Trembling, Zayd held the pendant and nodded. That night, the village changed. Wolves began circling the edges of the farmlands. Cattle were found dead, their eyes open in terror. And the masjid door, carved with verses of protection, cracked down the center. The imam declared his sign. The elders gathered, speaking in hushed tones, and for the first time in decades, the village's secret was revealed. Long ago, Sayyid Arqam had imprisoned a jinn in the mountain, a jinn who once led an army of darkness across the region. The saint had bound him with Quranic verses, sealing his prison with the pendant Zayd now carried. The scroll warned, if ever the pendant was removed, the seal would weaken, and the jinn would seek the one who held the amana. Zayd's father took him to the masjid that night. He brought forth a Quran, placed it before his son, and said, You must guard your heart with this. The jinn cannot touch a heart filled with the remembrance of Allah. But the horror had only begun. Zayd began seeing shadows in the corners of his room, tall, shifting figures with eyes like embers. He heard whispers from wells and cracks in walls. He began to recite Ayat al-Kursi day and night. Yet the presence drew closer. One night, the jinn came to him. It appeared not with a roar, but with silence. The air grew thick and the temperature dropped. A shadow emerged from his closet, forming into a figure with no face, just darkness. Return what is mine, it hissed. The light you hold does not belong to you. Zayd stood, holding the pendant, and recited with all his might. Allahu la ilaha illa huwa, al-Kursi. The jinn shrieked and vanished. But it had left a mark on Zayd's hand, a burn in the shape of a crescent moon. His mother wept when she saw it. The village elders decided that the pendant had to be returned. But the cave had collapsed after Zayd left it. The mountain had sealed itself. Desperate, they called upon a scholar from the distant city of Konya, an old man named Sheikh Abdullah. He arrived with books, prayer beads, and eyes that had seen the unseen. After listening to Zayd's story and examining the pendant, Sheikh Abdullah declared, "This is not a test for the boy alone. This is a test for us all. The jinn has returned, yes, but not in full strength. We must finish what Sayyid Arqam started." That night, the village gathered. A group of men, led by Sheikh Abdullah and Zayd, marched to the mountain. They carried torches, Qur'ans, and hearts pounding with fear and tawakkul. The cave was found anew, not in the same place, but revealed by a flash of lightning. Inside, the scroll and inscription glowed with blue fire. The jinn was waiting. It rose, larger than any man, its form shifting like smoke and shadow. It laughed, a sound that froze the blood. "You think your words can bind me again?" Sheikh Abdullah stepped forward and began the Ruqyah. Zayd stood beside him, pendant in hand, reciting alongside the sheikh. The villagers joined, their voices rising in unison. Bismillahi aladi la yadura miasmahai shayan fi al-ardi wa la fi al-samai wa huwa al-sami al-alam. The cave shook. The jinn screamed, trying to silence them. Flames erupted around them, but they did not stop. Finally, with a thunderous cry, the jinn was pulled into the pendant. Light burst from within, blinding them. When they opened their eyes, the cave was silent. The air was pure. Zayd collapsed, the pendant in his palm, glowing one last time before turning to stone. They buried it deep beneath the masjid, encasing it in layers of stone and Quranic inscriptions. The village was safe. Zayd, now forever marked by the test, continued his life in devotion. He became the imam in place of his father, guiding others with a wisdom beyond his years. He never dreamed again of fire. Instead, he saw gardens, rivers, and light. And in every hand, his voice trembled with the memory of the unseen and the mercy of the one who protected him. For those who walk with Allah, even through fire and fear, know that he is nearer than the jugular vein, and no shadow can consume a heart full of his light. Hit that like button if you believe in the power of Ayat al-Kursi. Share this story to spread the miracle. And don't forget to subscribe to Deen in Minute for more untold Islamic stories that will shake your soul.